Hi friends, and welcome back to another Woollen Wytch video. It's been a few months since my last videos. Life has been very stressful and a bit sad, to be honest, so it's taken a bit of effort and motivation to do another video, but I thought it's coming towards the end of the year. It's time just to round stuff off and give a little update on what's been happening and why I've been a bit quieter, I guess, on social media the last few months. So in September, Anne and I moved into our new house. If you haven't watched my previous video, so we've now moved to Weston-super-Mare. Originally we were renting a house in Bristol, and now we've moved just outside Bristol to Weston-super-Mare to live in the home that we own, which is really nice, which is why the pink walls of the previous home have now gone. We've got some lovely blue walls, but as you can imagine, that has been quite chaotic. We didn't realise how much stuff we owned and how much stuff we've managed to pack into the old flat. The new house is a similar sort of size to the flat, a little bit bigger. We've got a bit more space, I guess, and we've got outdoor space, so we've got a little garden out the back. But yeah, it's taken a lot, and this is like 4 months later and we're still not fully unpacked. We're trying to sort the one room at a time, basically. So the house was a bit of a fixer-upper, which was it was in our budget. It's a nice sort of size space, and we always knew that we'd have to sort of move in somewhere and do bits and bobs on it just to make it more homely. So we started with the living room. We painted the walls, stripped the wallpaper, painted the walls into this nice blue colour, and done the laminate flooring just to get it sort of vaguely livable. And then we've started on the kitchen. That's almost finished. We didn't like completely gut the kitchen and start from scratch. We've actually used the cabinets that were in there previously, and then painted the cabinet doors and moved stuff around, and made it a lot more homely for us, really, a bit more of what we need as a workspace. So it's almost done. There's the last few bits we've got to sort, so then the kitchen will be done, and then we can start doing another room in the house. I think that's probably finishing off the living room is what we'd end up doing, because there's just piles of stuff everywhere, like doom piles, that need sorting or need to find actually permanent homes. We've got a bookcase in here that actually needs to move upstairs into the bedroom and things like that. So yeah, whilst we've been here for sort of 3-4 months, I don't know, I feel like we should have unpacked more, but obviously we haven't. When we first moved in, Aunt took time off and took holiday, and I shortened my hours at work just to try and get sort of the initial stuff sorted. But now we've both gone back to work full time, it's been a lot harder to try and fit things in and get stuff done, because we now have a daily commute into Bristol every day, and that takes about an hour to get to work every morning. So by the time you get home in the evenings, you don't really want to do a lot. So we get home, generally it's sort of 6:30, then you cook your food, and then you don't really want to be doing DIY 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So we've not really done much in the evening, so we sort of try to ear peg the weekends to do those sort of stuff, so not as much as we would like is getting sorted. We've also got some problems with the electrics in the house that need doing, so at the moment we have to manually turn on the hot water and get that heated, so it's not on a timer, because there's some sort of wire that needs replacing that obviously me and Aunt are not qualified to do, but it's finding the time when either Aunt or I are at home to get an electrician out, and both of us work Monday to Fridays, so it's sort of hard to get that done as well, but we'll get there eventually. One day we'll have hot water on a timer, that would be nice. So it's been stressful, but it's sort of been nice. But unfortunately not long into us moving into the house and settling in, my nan passed away. She was a huge part of my life, and she's a huge part of why Woollen Wytch was started, really, and it's been very difficult for me not to associate knitting and Woollen Wytch with her and her loss, so it's been really hard. Didn't realise even just doing this video would be hard. Moving to Bristol, I didn't really get to see her as much as I'd like, and she sort of long had stopped doing long distance travelling, which from where she lived in Curry Rival in Somerset into Bristol, it's a fair bit of travel. It would have been a fair bit of travel for her, and the flat that we lived in had 2 flights of stairs and she struggled getting up the stairs, so she never got to come and visit. And by the time we bought this house, she was bedbound, so she never got to see our home either. She was a huge part of my childhood. She picked me up and took me to school every morning, and she picked me up from school and took me back to her house and looked after me until my parents finished work. So I saw her literally every day. Even on the weekends, my mum used to drop us round so that we could go have a cup of tea with her, and she is the whole reason that I really enjoyed arts and crafts. We used to take the clothing catalogues out of her cupboard and we used to sit and redraw some of the stuff together and design our own clothes based on it. It's so stupid now. We went into fabric shops and picked up patterns and bits of fabrics, and we sat during one summer holiday making handbags, and I gave some of my friends at primary school some handbags. She tried to teach me to knit. I've said before now, it did not go well. We had a massive argument when I was a little girl. She called me cat-candid, and it wasn't one of those angry arguments. It was one of those silly things that both of us are just frustrated with each other. She was a big part of how Woollen Wytch came to be. It's been a bit difficult to sit on social media and post about things and stuff like that, and so that's why I've been a bit quieter than usual. I mean, I'm fairly quiet on social media anyway. I usually feel like I don't have much to say, and I felt like I've had even less to say recently. I have shared on Instagram some photos of her, and it was really nice getting all the messages back from it, and it's helped a lot, but it's been, as you can see, very hard. But the nice thing is that because no one else in my family has sort of picked up knitting needles, when I went round to help sort of sort stuff in her house with my mum, they let me keep her old knitting patterns, and there's hundreds. There's literally hundreds of vintage knitting patterns that I've got from hers now, so I think it's a nice thing that I've managed to sort of inherit off of her. And in the new year I sort of intend in the new year I sort of intend to pick some of the vintage patterns. I mean, some of them are super cheesy, but fantastic, and yeah, I intend to pick some of them and knit a few. probably in my yarn, to be honest. There's some fantastic ones of like Thomas the Tank Engine jumpers and stuff that I remember her knitting for me when I was a kid. So I just think it would be great to knit my own versions of them. Yeah, they are super vintage. They're ones she's collected through magazines and those sort of catalogues that you send away, where you pick the pattern and then they send you the yarn for it and things like that. So they're super. A lot of them are just random ones, and I'm really looking forward to knitting quite a few of them, to be honest. I think it'd be a nice sort of rounded thing. There was a lot of yarn as well that she had stuffed around in bags randomly around her house that I've inherited as well. And she was never one for quality yarn. A lot of it is the cheap acrylic stuff, which is all well and good. I mean, it just meant that she was able to do her hobby. But I'm gonna try and find some sort of project to knit with them. It's probably not going to be jumpers or socks or any of my usual projects, just because I'm not 100% sure on what they would be like to wear. I'm sure there's something that I can find to do with those. Yeah, it's been difficult. It's been nice looking back on my memories. Honestly, I think every single memory I have of her is a good one, and I'm unbelievably glad of that, and I am so grateful for any messages that any of you have sent to me over her loss. It's been really kind of you. And I'm going to move on now, because there's only so many times I can stop the video camera to blow my nose and start again, so I'm just gonna move completely on. So Christmas has just happened. Difficult for those reasons, but it's really been really nice to have Christmas with just me and Aunt and the cats in our new home. It's been nice to have a proper sized kitchen that we can actually cook a Christmas meal together properly. And we've had our tree up, and then swiftly all the baubles knocked off by Mogget, which is typical fashion but fantastic. So it's been sort of it's been nice in that respect, and I had a few nice gifts from Aunt, which is lovely. He got me a few little craft products. So last year he bought me some Row Life kit to make a library sort of bookshop, and that took me weeks to complete. This time he bought me a sort of greenhouse bookend, like book nook, and I immediately got to work to that on Christmas Day, and I finished it by Christmas evening. And it looks really cool. It's got working electrics on this one, whereas the bookshop I couldn't get it to work. This one has actually worked out really nice. I'm going to insert some footage because it's so cute. I love it, and I need to get my bookshelves sorted so that we can actually put it up, because I think that would just be great. He also got me, I think he panic bought when he said another present didn't arrive in time. He had to run to my friend's yarn shop in Cleve, which is Alternate Universe, run by the lovely Kim and her partner Carl, and he bought me some little bits and bobs there. So he bought me a yarn of Pixie Yarns, who's another Somerset maker, and it's sock fingering weight, 80% BFL and 20% bamboo, 4-ply. I don't know if the colours are going to come up properly on this, but it's a lovely sort of purple. It's got purples and blues running through it, and he picked me up a nice little wooden button and a badge that says "I heart my GM, please don't kill us," as I've started being a dungeon master for my group of friends. So I don't quite know what project. Obviously he bought it to make socks with, so I might knit a pair of socks with them. I'm not sure what pattern yet. Usually just end up being just a vanilla sock, but I think with this yarn I think it would work really well with like a lacy sock, just because I think it would show off the patterns of the lace running through it quite well. So I might pick up a pattern out of the 52 Weeks of Socks book by Lana. Just with everything going on, it's been hard to carry on knitting and everything. It's been a bit difficult to fit it all in, so I have in the last sort of few weeks tried to get back into the swing of knitting again. I haven't really completed much at all this year. It's just been really difficult just to carry on with it and get motivated, but I have finished a pair of socks recently. This is in my colourway Heartland, which is like a self-striping, so it goes from greens and purples. You can see the self-striping doesn't always work. It depends on where you've started with it, how many stitches you cast on. So sometimes it pulls and sometimes you get like a really nice stripe to it. But it did eventually sort itself out and go sort of stripy. I'm not sure why it happened on one sock and not the other, but sometimes the thing with hand-dyed yarns is there's not generally, unless you're a big mathematician when you're dyeing and stuff like that, it's really hard to get a certain effect with what you're dyeing. But I quite like the mystery of it, in all honesty. I quite like watching a project grow and change as the yarn's going through. But that's one pair of socks that I've completed this year. It's just a simple purl one, knit one for the cuff, and then a shadow wrap heel, which is quickly becoming my sort of go-to heel pattern for socks. It's just really nice and simple, and I find it fits my heels properly. I've pretty much remembered it completely now. I'm gonna try a few other heel patterns, I think, in the new year, just to broaden my knitting skills, basically. But that's the one project I have completely finished. And then from the same ball of yarn, I realised I had 54 grams left from knitting those one pair of socks. So I have cast on another pair out of the same ball of yarn. It was just a 100-gram skein of yarn. Yeah, I still had 54 grams left out of a 100-gram skein. So I decided to cast on another pair of socks, and this time I went for a knit to purl one, and actually I really prefer how that looks both stretched and just as it is normally, in comparison to the 1x1. I think it just looks a lot neater, so I might continue with just the 2x1 rather than the 1x1 for now. Again, I just used the shadow wrap heel. So I finished that one, the first sock, yesterday, and then yesterday evening I cast on the second sock, tried to get over the second sock syndrome quite quickly, and I've just started knitting the cuff, basically. So a lot of mine I do top down, mostly because I can never remember the cast on for, is it Judy's Magic cast on to do the toes up. Whilst I really like, I do quite like doing toe up, I just forget how to do it. So I like to do the top downs because I don't need to look at anything. I can just carry straight on with it. That's pretty much the only projects I'm sort of finishing, half finishing. I recently ripped back an attempt and started again, and this is going much better. This is for my Love Thing sweater by Woollen Wytch. It's a kit that I bought when I first started knitting, and I don't know what it is. I hate is a strong word, but in this instance it's pretty apt. I really don't like the way that they have written the pattern out, because it's not a pattern. It's just really annoying the way they've written it, and so every time I've tried to knit it, it all goes wrong. But what I've done this time is I've gone through the pattern book that they send you. So I've gone through the little book they've sent you, and I've rewritten it as a proper pattern. And this has gone so much easier. I've managed to tick it off what I've been doing as I've been going through, and it's just made so much more sense. So let me get to a part where it just annoys the crap out of me. So instead of just saying do a decrease moss stitch until the last 2 stitches or whatever, it goes make a left leaning purl decrease, start with knit stitch, work in moss stitch until you have to, it's just like, rather than just saying what they need you to do, they've written like a paragraph, and I don't know why. I think it's just the way my brain works. I hate it. I hate it. But me rewriting it up has really helped, and I think I've gotten the furthest I've ever gotten with this pattern before. It is a weird sort of construction for a jumper, but we'll see how it goes. I think I'm like 2/3 of the way through it, so I'm hoping I can finish it soon, and then I can just get it done, and then I can carry on with a project that I'm actually going to enjoy. It's because I bought this kit so long ago, I just want to get it done so I can move on. So at the moment I'm not, I mean, I could cast on something that I can enjoy, but I will get distracted by that and then not finish this project. So I'm trying to finish this one before I start anything else, and actually bust a bit of my stash and get going with it. So this is what I've got so far. So this is actually sleeve, so you knit all of the sleeve down, and then you basically split in the center for your neck hole. That's part of the body, and then I've started on the other part of the body. So say that's the front, I've started on the back, and then you join them back up later and do the second sleeve. So it's all knit in one complete, sort of box, and then you sew the seams up. So let's try to cover some of the pattern up, but so that is what I've knitted currently. So you've got sleeve, front side. I'm currently doing the back side here, and then I'll join them back up later and do the last sleeve. But yeah, it's an odd construction, but we'll see how we're going with it. It's, like I said, it's the most amount I've ever done on that pattern before without getting frustrated with it. It's sort of boring, and I'm not really a lover of knitting on straight needles, so I think that's part of the reason that I'm not enjoying it as well, to be honest. But yeah, we're powering through, we're getting through it. It will be finished by, hopefully, at the very latest, the end of January, because this has been too long now, and I need it gone. I need it gone. And then I've got a few project bags set up ready for me to get on with the project I actually want to do once I've finished that one. So I've got patterns and projects and yarn already wound and just stuff in a project bag ready to go for when everything else is done. Pretty much what I've been knitting this year. I don't even remember what I did at the start of the year. Probably not a lot, to be honest. It's just been, 2023 has just kicked me in the butt really hard. But there's been positives along with the negatives, but there's been a lot of positives. Our home being the big positive, really. Just yeah, I'm looking forward to a fresh start, really, and just to keep going and just try to bring a bit more joy into my life. We've got plans of building the dye shed next year. We've sort of put that on hold whilst the weather's been really crappy. You don't really want to start building a shed when it's pouring down with rain. So we have left that for now. I've taken over the spare bedroom and put all of my dye stuff in and all my stock and stuff, but once the weather's better we'll get the shed put up out the front by the garage, and then I can actually sit down and start properly dyeing things and getting a bit more into the swing of it and more of a routine with Woollen Wytch, which would be really nice. I've never had a space that has just been Woollen Wytch dyeing. I've had like my office in the old house and I've got the spare room upstairs here, but I can't really dye in there. I'm having to dye still in the kitchen, and now that we've got like a nice new kitchen, I don't really want to cover that in dye. So we've sort of held off on that one, really. But yeah, once the shed's up it'll be really nice to get that going. I am looking into putting together a Kickstarter just to help us fund putting the shed up, and then actually do like an actual nice shed rather than just like your standard B&Q one, which may fall down or get damaged or damage the stock inside, which is not something I want to happen whatsoever. So I have been looking into doing a Kickstarter just to help fund so we can buy a better shed, and if it works out well and we get a good shed, then I might be able to do like workshops or a knit group or something out of the shed. I think that'd be really nice. But yeah, I'm just currently looking into it. I mean, if you guys are interested in supporting a Kickstarter for the shed, that would be great. Let me know in the comments, or if you've got any ideas of what the rewards could be for the Kickstarter. I am all ears, in all honesty. I've never done one before. I've backed a lot of Kickstarters, but I've never seen one for a dye shed or any sort of yarn workshop studio thing. So yeah, I'm all ears for what you guys would think would be a good reward, or how much you would pay to support it. I don't even know whether anyone would want to support it, but I thought it's an idea just to help get stuff started. Yeah, I mean, that's the main things that I've been thinking of for next year. It's quickly coming around the corner. But I hope 2023 has been very hard, and I really hope next year just goes so much better. I appreciate all the thoughts and messages and support anyone or any of you have given me. It's sort of kept me going, and it's a nice thing to focus on when there is other stresses going on in your life. So thank you so much if you've bought anything through the website, or you've come and said hello to me, or bought anything from me at any of my yarn shows. Next year I think I've only got 2 yarn shows on. I don't think I've applied for anything else. I wanted to give myself a bit of a break. Not that I did a lot in previous years, but they can be a lot to juggle along with everything else. So this year I am doing Sodbury Yarn Over, I think that's in April if I've got the date right, and then I've got the Southern Wool Show again in September, so they're nicely spaced out. And yeah, I think that's more than enough for me to get going for this year, but we will hopefully have the dye shed sorted in the summer next year, and then we can look at doing a few more events, or maybe open studio or something like that for a weekend. I think that would be fun. I'd love to do some stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for watching the video, and I'm gonna sign off and try to maybe finish the sock. I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas holiday if you celebrate Christmas, and if you don't, I hope you've had a great time off anyway, and I really hope you have a fantastic New Year's, and let's just fill the next year with some joy and spend some quality time with family and friends. Thank you so much, and I will see you again soon.